Highgate Cemetery was submerged in a thick fog, the damp, bone-chilling mist characteristic of England. Arthur, the old, hunchbacked groundskeeper, was making his night rounds. The light from the hurricane lantern in his hand flickered weakly, barely enough to illuminate the moss-covered tombstones. In those days, the fear of being buried alive while in a coma was palpable. Consequently, the aristocracy often commissioned safety coffins. A small rope would be threaded through the coffin lid, one end tied to the deceased's finger and the other connected to a copper bell mounted on the headstone. If the dead awoke and stirred, the bell would ring, and the groundskeeper would come to dig them up. Tonight, the wind was dead silent. A heavy silence enveloped the land of the dead. Arthur froze. The sound was faint, but echoed with terrifying clarity in the empty night. He turned his head toward the plot buried just yesterday. It was the grave of Count Blackwood, a cruel nobleman notorious for his dark rituals, who had died suddenly from a stroke. The bell was no longer ringing due to the wind. It rang in a steady, dry rhythm. Arthur swallowed hard, his hands trembling as he gripped his shovel. It was his duty to dig if the bell rang. That was the law. He dragged his feet toward the grave. The tiny copper bell on the headstone was swinging wildly. The rope leading underground pulled tight and then went slack, over and over again.
My lord! Lord Blackwood? Are you alive?
No answer came from beneath the earth, only the increasingly frantic ringing of the bell. Arthur drove his shovel into the ground. He began to dig. Wet mud splattered onto his clothes. He dug frantically, partly out of duty, but mostly because he wanted that damned bell to stop. After nearly an hour, the shovel blade struck the wooden lid with a dull thud. The bell above ground instantly fell silent. Arthur panted heavily, brushing the last layer of soil from the coffin lid. He used a crowbar to pry open the wood. The stench of death wafted up pungently. Arthur shone his lantern inside. Count Blackwood lay there, his face pale as chalk, eyes still shut tight, hands crossed over his chest exactly as they were during the funeral. He was dead, completely devoid of any sign of life or struggle. The coffin lining was smooth, his fingernails were unbroken. But Arthur suddenly noticed something anomalous that made him fall backward, dropping his lantern in terror. The rope. The end of the rope tied to the Count's index finger remained intact, but it wasn't being pulled tight towards the surface. Instead, the rope was snapped in the middle, and the remaining section was being pulled taut, disappearing into a small, jagged hole in the bottom of the coffin. Someone, or something, wasn't pulling the bell to be saved. The thing deep beneath the earth was pulling the rope, to drag the Count down with it. From the pitch-black hole at the bottom of the coffin, a plume of crimson smoke rose, carrying the pungent scent of sulphur, and Arthur swore he heard a chuckle echoing up from hell itself.